people were like, oh, Nebraska's going to cover this game. Trust me. Why would you ever take a team that is, like, just fired their head coach? They lost to Georgia Southern.
Yeah.
You don't take them after that. Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Classic City Talks with Classic City Locks. I'm Mike.
I'm Wes.
And here we are coming into week 4 of college football. Last week, both of us did great. I went 15-8.
I went 13-10.
So both of us positive. You know, week 2 was absolutely brutal, so it was good to get back on track. And week-by-week wins, I take week 3, so I'm up 2-1 on Wes. Wes took week 2.
Yeah.
And I think that I'm, after the week 2 catastrophe, and officially 31-31, so I'm back to 500.
Yep, and I am 28-34 on the season, so not doing my best.
Had to crawl back after week 2. Everyone got messed up there. So we are ready to bring y'all some big picks for week 4.
Yeah, and let's just say what a great season of college football it's already been.
It's been awesome.
I'm having a great time. You're having a great time. We hope you are too. And in spite of that, we are going off on a new segment tonight. Normally we just give you our picks in order, but tonight we have our best bets for you. We're going through 3 games that we are confident about, both of us. And so here we are. Let's go straight into it.
Yeah, straight into it. First game we have number 20 Florida going into Knoxville to take on number 11 Tennessee. This Florida team, they got a great win week 1, and they've just underperformed.
Yeah.
USF, they only won by 3 last time. And this Tennessee team, man, they are rolling, absolutely rolling. Florida, just a couple quick facts, 44th in FPI. Tennessee, 8. Florida scoring 25.3 points per game. Tennessee, 52.
Anthony Richardson has not thrown a touchdown pass yet this year. He's thrown 4 interceptions, though. And
it's just brutal. And Tennessee, their defense, their only really bad defense is in passing. And like Wes just said, Florida's not passing the ball. They're averaging 141 yards a game. That's just not good.
Mm-mm.
So because of that, Wes and I, our smash pick of the week, we are hammering Tennessee minus 10.5.
Yep.
Florida, not going to stand a chance.
No. Neyland Stadium, sold out crowd. They're doing the pattern, the checkered pattern, orange and white game. I'm taking Tennessee all the way here. So
definitely.
Our second best bet, we got Central Michigan going into Penn State. We are hammering the Nittany Lions in here. The scary mascot
Terrifying.
is going to be too much for Central Michigan. That line, we have it at 26.5. We think it's moved to about 28. We'd take it up to 28. But if you can find it anywhere lower than that, hammer Penn State.
Absolutely.
They just obliterated Auburn last week.
In Auburn. And Wes, I got to give credit to him. He was hot on them from the beginning, and they've proven him right. I mean, they're number 10 in FPI. Central Michigan, 93. And, just Penn State offense is rolling.
Yeah.
No reason to bet against them.
In
our third and final smash play, Arkansas Razorbacks at number 10 going into Arlington, Texas.
Yeah, neutral site.
Neutral site to play Texas A&M at 23. I know A&M coming off a win over Miami. I thought that Miami would have won, but, A&M also got upset. So Wes and I, we are totally confident in the Hogs. They are rolling.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to take them at plus 2.5, plus 2, anything, we're taking them.
Yeah, like Mike said, I mean, both teams last week kind of underperformed. Texas A&M came away with the dub, but Miami outplayed them. They just could not find the end zone.
Definitely.
You look at the box score of that game, Miami has way more yards, way more plays run, more first downs, I believe.
They just couldn't punch it in.
Yeah. So Arkansas also struggled against Missouri State, one of the ones we were laughing about last week. But you give me this game on a neutral site, I'm taking the Hogs all the way. With points, smash it.
Exactly. Got to trust in KJ Jefferson and the Hogs.
Yeah.
Off week, not going to stop them from rolling over A&M, who has just torn my heart out, and I'm never touching them again.
Well, there you have it, our 3 best picks for this week. Now we're going to roll straight into the rest of them, the rest of the top 25, starting us off.
Yeah, starting off, we got number 17, Baylor, going to play Iowa State. Unranked Iowa State is favored by 2.5.
Yeah, man.
Just a very tough matchup off the, statistically, while Baylor's ranked, very even.
Yeah.
Baylor 14 in FPI, Iowa State 27. Baylor scores more points, but, this Iowa State defense is stout.
Yeah.
So it's such a close line, but I'm going to have to take Baylor. Got to take the points against Iowa State. And, we'll see what happens. They tough loss against BYU.
Yeah.
I'm ready for them to get back on track with a win against unranked Iowa State.
Yeah, this is one I also have Baylor penciled in, but man, I'm thinking about switching it right now. That Iowa State environment, will it be enough? But then I look back and I look at the Iowa State game, and I'm thinking, man, Baylor's got to play better than Iowa, right?
Definitely.
And you're giving me 2.5 points again. I'm going to stick with the Bears on this one. I'm also picking Baylor.
Good pick. Another one team that you were high on, so got to stick to your guns.
Another interesting matchup next. We got Clemson going into Wake Forest. 2 ranked teams meeting up, and it's going to be a 7.5 point spread right now in favor of Clemson. I think it's shifted. It's stayed at 7.5. Mm-hmm. What do you think about this one, Mike?
Oh, man. So talk about West sticking to his guns with Baylor. Y'all know that I love Wake Forest, and originally I looked at this and I was like, oh man, Clemson always beats them, and they beat them last year. They're 5th in the power rankings. But man, I have a couple things to say about Clemson. They got banged up last week. They lost a lot of guys on defense. Unfortunately, Brian Breesy's out as well with personal reasons, with his sister tragically passing away, so they probably won't have him.
I think he's coming back this week.
If he comes back, that'd be great for them, but not sure. Obviously, he's got a lot on his plate, and their secondary took some hits in that game and during practice this week. And on Wake Forest, Sam Hartman can pass the ball. The reason that game against Liberty was so close last week was because they could not get the run game going at all. They only averaged like 1.9 yards.
What about the defense, though?
I know the defense, but I think that the Wake Forest offense is better. I think that Sam Hartman...
I mean Wake Forest defense against Liberty. What happened?
It was still like not a super high scoring game. This is going to be a statement game. It's going to be a statement game for them.
Okay.
For Sam Hartman. Because of that, I'm going to take Wake Forest plus 7.5.
Wow.
Clemson has to fall at some point. They're giving up 20 points to LA Tech. Come on.
Yeah.
We're sticking with them.
Since you say that, I'm actually going to switch to Clemson. I had Wake Forest penciled in before this, but we're going Clemson. I've been kind of riding with them all year. I don't know why, but I think that this game is going to be very interesting in that I think Wake Forest might dominate the stats, similar to Texas A&M Miami, but I think that somehow Clemson is going to squeak it out at the end. Will it be by 8 points, though? Oh, that's tough. But I'm gonna go against you here, and I'm gonna say Clemson covers 7.5.
All right, it's fine. We'll see. All right, who we got next?
Kent State at Georgia. Georgia is favored by 44.5 in this one. I have not correctly picked the Georgia spread once this year, so do not listen to me on this game. I'm gonna ride with the dogs just because. Oh man, Kent State is nothing to like. I don't know.
Nothing to write home about. Kent State.
They've kind of been a sleepy team against some other people.
Yeah.
Kirby's been saying don't sleep on Kent State, but I'm trusting the dogs to get it taken care of business here. They didn't cover this against Samford, but that's because it was kind of a rainy, kind of weird environment.
Yeah.
I think, especially following that big win against South Carolina, I think the offense will still want to run up the score here.
Definitely. Wes summed it up nicely. Georgia, they're going to cover.
Yeah.
Offense is rolling. They're ready to go.
Perfect. All right.
Up next, we have Maryland at Michigan. Michigan Wolverines, 17.5 point favorites. Not a ton for me to say here. Michigan, I am impressed. Officially impressed. J.J. McCarthy is a dog, and they're just dominating on both sides of the ball. 4th in power rankings, putting up 55.3 points per game, 497 yards, and their defense is allowing just under 200 yards a game and only 5.7 points. Maryland, 3-0. A lot of people are saying this could be a trap game, but they have not played anyone good yet. They've played Charlotte, like a bunch of nobody teams, and they're letting them score on them.
Same thing with Michigan, though. Michigan hasn't played it. This will be their first true test.
I understand, but Maryland has, it's been close in some of their games. So, because of that, I'm taking Michigan minus 17.5. I don't think it'll be close.
Well, Maryland also, one of the sleeper teams that our shameless plug here, our new TikTok has just gotten out. We'll put the link in the description below. Give us a follow. Give us some likes.
Yeah.
Go check it out.
A lot of people have been in the comments saying, Maryland, where's Maryland at? They're a good team. So I'm not buying into it yet. Y'all got to convince me.
I think that Maryland might be I think they are a good team. but I also think this Michigan team is like very, very high caliber. I think this is going to be like one of their Georgia-esque games where they break out against an opponent that people are kind of thinking that will give them a tough battle. So I'm also going Michigan in this one.
I like that. It's like a sort of similar South Carolina situation. Enough said about them.
Yeah. Next up, we got Rhode Island and Pitt. Pitt, let's see, what's the line here?
35.5.
35.5. I'm taking Pitt. I don't know anything about Rhode Island, but I trust Pitt to cover 35.5.
Yeah, Rhode Island's an FCS school. Slovis is back for Pitt. No reason to doubt them there.
Yeah.
Up next, we have Middle Tennessee State University at Miami. Miami, 26.5-point favorites, as we said in our Smash Picks, coming off a tough loss to A&M, but they really did play well. They just couldn't punch the ball in the end. MTSU 94 in FPI. Miami is 15. They're putting up 36.3 points, 476 yards, and that defense is pretty stout, only allowing 12 points a game. Because of that, I'm ready for Miami to come back with a bounce-back game. They're a good team. We love Cristobal. Taking them at 26.5.
Interesting. Well, I think I'm going to ride with MTSU here. Middle Tennessee, what's their mascot? The Mountaineers, the
I have
Cowboys,
no idea.
Something about that. Well, I'm going to take them. Miami, man, they were disappointing to me against Texas A&M.
Yeah.
They got to find the end zone. They struggled against Southern Miss the week before that. I think they'll win this game pretty handily, but 27 points, maybe not. I'm going to take the Middle Tennessee to cover this.
Yeah, they burned us on the 26.5 against, like, Southern Miss or whatever it was. So, I don't know. I'm ready to be hurt.
All right, Texas going into Lubbock to take on Texas Tech, another team that we've been wrong about in the past.
Yeah.
We got this line at 5.5 in favor of Texas here. And, well, last week I picked UTSA to cover against Texas, like 13.5 or 11.5. And they got out to a flying start, and then Texas really kicked it into gear. Hudson Card played. There was a little bit of speculation about that. Speaking of, watch this game closely as the week goes on because Quinn Ewers might be back on the field.
Yeah, they said that he was getting some practice in. So if you're watching this, I would
check up on that.
Yeah, keep an eye on that. I'm going to take Texas here, minus 5.5, regardless of who plays. If you get this in Ewers playing, 100%.
Yeah, I'm also going to take Texas here. So Texas Tech, they rubbed me the wrong way last week, so I'm sticking with the Longhorns.
Barely escaping against Houston. Got to take Texas. 5.5 is too low.
Yeah.
Up next, we have the Oregon Ducks at 15 going in to Pullman, Washington to take on Washington State.
Yeah.
A very interesting team that, took out Wisconsin. Wes and I were not expecting that.
Yeah.
Oregon, an even more interesting team who got absolutely throttled week 1 by Georgia. But
has done some throttling of their own lately.
Yeah, they've bounced back. They shocked us and just decimated BYU, and they're looking like a solid team. They're looking like the Oregon we expected to sort of see. Well, Wes, I wasn't as high on them, but they're up to 15. Because of that, I know Washington State is tricky. I think that Oregon needed that first week to wake up. They were a little more than a little shaky. They looked bad, but now they're looking good, and I'm willing to take them at 5.5.
Yeah, this one is tough to me because before the season started, I told Mike, I was like, best games of the season, week 1, week 2. Oh, week 3 or week 2, we got Washington State at Wisconsin. That'll be a good game. And he was like, no. And then the line came, and I was like, Wisconsin will cover this. And then they didn't. They lost. So this is a very trap game for Oregon here. I'm interested to see if the Ducks can pull it off on the road after a very tough game in Atlanta, Georgia, but still kind of a home environment for the Dogs. I was going to take Washington State, but I'm seeing the live line shift into 6.5 in favor of Oregon. So give me that extra point. I'm taking Oregon to cover at 5.5 at Washington State.
Yeah, I think 6.5 isn't that bad either.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
All right, well, then we'll move on to Tulsa at Ole Miss. Ole Miss, man, they have been playing some lights-out football lately.
Yes,
and
they have.
Without really an answer at quarterback. They've just rushed the ball completely down the gut, crushed Georgia Tech. Man, I'm taking Ole Miss in this one to cover 19.5. Nothing more to say than that offensive backfield for Ole Miss is scary.
It is. Looking into this, I didn't realize that, statistically, Ole Miss is 7 in FPI, and like Wes said, their quarterback play is just not super impressive yet, but their run game is insane.
Yeah.
I think Zach Evans is a dog. 19.5. I think Ole Miss can totally win this game by 3 touchdowns, and that Ole Miss defense is like second in the country in points allowed so far. So yeah, give me that 7 FPI Ole Miss over 84 FPI Tulsa. We're taking them to cover.
All right. Then we move on to Northern Illinois at Kentucky. Kentucky might be a segment on this later. Kentucky is one of 5 or 6 teams that are perfect at covering the spread so far this season. We got this at 25.5. Kentucky will have to win by 26 to remain perfect. And I am predicting that they will remain perfect as Northern Illinois comes in. But, man, this game is a little bit more interesting upon first glance. Northern Illinois just played someone close last week. Kentucky against Youngstown State had kind of the same line, and I think that Northern Illinois will be better than that. But yeah, I'm sticking with the Cats in this one.
Yeah, I am also sticking with them. Like Wes said, we had this line last week, and they covered, I think, like 31-0, something like that. And this is just, in terms of FPI, they're below 100, and Kentucky looks solid. Levis is playing good football. They played that game against Florida without their starting running back, and they were still able to run the ball like crazy. So, yeah I'm taking them.
Yeah. All right.
Up next, we have Connecticut going into Raleigh to play NC State at number 12. NC State, a bit of an enigma for us because week 1, an absolute nail-biter win over ECU, and then they throttled Charleston Southern. And then they played Texas Tech.
Yes,
and they covered, but it was closer than we thought. I took NC State last week, but the line this week is 39.5 against Connecticut. This is one that I've kind of gone back and forth on. Money line, I would take NC State. They're going to win. But I don't know, man. I'm going to take Connecticut here. UConn's going to cover. They're going to cover. 39.5 is a lot, and I think that they're better than they have been in previous years, and there's certainly no Charleston Southern.
Yeah, well, Michigan just beat UConn by 58 or 59. So the question is, will NC State be able to pull off 39.5? So will NC State be able to pull off 40? I have not predicted NC State correctly once this season, but I'm going to go against you here, and I was doubting them, and I think that they're a very solid football team. We liked them coming into this season. Devin Leary, taking NC State, riding with them.
We'll take it. Who do we got next?
Next, Vandy at Alabama.
Oh, boy.
Man, get your tissues ready, because this is going to be a slaughter. I picked ULM last week against Alabama, and gosh, it was close. 4th and goal, Alabama covered on their last possession.
Oh, man.
I'm very upset about that one. For that reason, I'm still taking Alabama in this one.
When I saw that they scored at the goal line, I was just waiting for the text from West to be like, there's no way they just did that. But, I am also taking Alabama. Vanderbilt, I'm sorry, the congrats for the dominating win over Hawaii, but you're not beating Bama and Alabama. So, 40.5, give me Alabama.
Yeah.
Up next, we have the Wisconsin Badgers going into Columbus to take on Ohio State at 3. The line is Ohio State 17.5. Historically a matchup that in Ohio, Ohio State has dominated.
Yeah.
And we're worried about their defense still. They let Toledo put up 21 points. But, Wisconsin losing to Washington State, they've been okay on both sides of the ball. Nothing to write home about. I think that this is, opening up conference play. Ohio State is ready. They're going to absolutely destroy Wisconsin. They're going to move the ball up and down the field, and I think the defense is going to do enough, but the offense is what's going to shine. They're going to cover 17.5.
Yeah, I want to pick Wisconsin in this one, but you look at that Washington State game, and Washington State came into Wisconsin and they beat them. They flat out beat them.
Yeah.
And so Ohio State, I'm thinking, wins this one by about 21. I want to take Wisconsin, but the line is not big enough. What Mike just said, Ohio State needs a breakout game this season. Their fans want it. They need it for their conference play. I think they're going to get it against Wisconsin here. I'm also going with Ohio State.
Yeah.
So next we move on to Kansas State at Oklahoma. Oklahoma favored by 13.5 in this one. We were high on Kansas State last week, and then they blew it.
They really did. I mean, they just absolutely killed Missouri the week before, and then they just completely threw it away.
Yeah.
We were talking about they should probably be ranked.
And
we are.
Now they're not ranked.
Nope.
And what do you think about this one?
Yeah, 13.5. I think you got to take the value there. Oklahoma is looking really solid with Brent Venables, and Dylan Gabriel he's just playing good football.
Yeah.
We've talked about Oklahoma. Great work. Avoiding the catastrophe that could have been.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, give me Oklahoma at 2 touchdowns against Kansas State team that just completely flopped last week. Yeah.
Yeah.
In Norman. Come on.
Watch this one to be a little bit closer than you'd expect it, but 14 points. I'm taking Dylan Gabriel. Tied for 5th in the Heisman rankings I've seen lately.
Yeah,
so
true.
Give me Oklahoma Sooners in that one.
Up next, we have number 7, USC, going into Oregon State, playing a Oregon State team that if you follow our TikTok, you saw that we think they're a little slept on.
I like them.
They're 3-0.
Yeah.
That's a feisty Beaver team. Gotta be wary of them. USC favored by 6.5, and despite saying all that about Oregon State, I'm still taking USC to win by a touchdown because they have been one of the most efficient offenses in college football right now, and their defense looks great too. Caleb Williams is clicking, and no reason to doubt them.
Yeah, I'm also going to go with the Trojans in this one. If this was a line at like 7.5, I would lean Oregon State. So if there's a lot of movement on this one, I would avoid it. But at 6.5, I'm going to stick with the Trojans. They are also perfect this year at covering the spread. Give me them. Wyoming, however, going into BYU. BYU just got shown how to play football in Oregon, as we talked about earlier.
21-point loss.
Talk about an up and down team. You beat Baylor one week, and then you go into Oregon and get... I mean, that game was not as close as the score indicated.
No.
Oregon went up by a lot, and then BYU kind of came back in the later parts of the game. But
yeah.
Saying that, this line is at 28.5 in favor of BYU. I'm taking them to have a bounce-back week this week. Wyoming, man, they're not going to do too much in this one, I don't think. So give me the Cougars in this one.
Yeah, I'm looking at this as well, and I have Wyoming penciled in, but again, this is an up-and-down BYU team, but against lesser teams like USF, they put up 50 points on them, and just in Utah, after a brutal loss, I can't say no to them again. I got to take them at 28.5. If it goes higher than that, I'm staying away from it. But I'm ready for BYU to be mad and come back and win this by over 28.5.
Yeah, exactly.
Up next, really interesting matchup. We have Stanford going into Seattle to play Washington at 18. Washington favored by 12.5. Just came off a huge win against Michigan State. Completely blew both of us away. We were really high on Michigan State, and they just let us down.
Michigan State out of the rankings this week.
Yeah, that's just absolutely brutal for them.
Yeah, man. I don't know about that one, but...
Yeah, I would still put them in the bottom, but... Yeah, Washington, another team we think is underrated right now. After that performance, they moved to 3-0 after a dismal 2021. But... Another one that's tough, Stanford can be scrappy, but we saw USC take care of business. With Washington now being in the mix for winning the Pac-12, I'm taking them to cover 12.5. I think they can win this by 2 touchdowns at home.
Yeah, no, Washington, be very wary about them. They're a great team. I think they're underrated, but don't overrate them after one good week. All right, we did the same thing with Florida, and now look where they're at.
Stanford's no Michigan State, though.
They're not. I'm not saying that. I'm still taking Washington, but I will say, beware of the Washington overhype after this week. We'll see if they get the job done against Stanford, and then I think we'll have a better indication. But watch out for that. I'm taking Washington.
Okay.
Utah, going into Arizona State. Utah is favored by 15.5. Man, we've been trusting them. Arizona State just fired their head coach.
A bit of a tailspin right now.
Yeah.
They're in trouble.
And I think Emory Jones is there, transferred there, and then they lose their head coach. That's got to be a weird feeling. But anyways, 15.5, I'm taking Utah on this one. We think they're still a great team despite losing one at Florida early in the season. 15.5, I think they cover.
Yeah, after week 1, Utah's been playing well. 73 against Southern Utah. They won last week as well.
Yeah.
I'm taking them as well. If you have a team, we saw this last week with Nebraska. This is giving me Nebraska-Oklahoma vibes. People were like, oh, Nebraska's going to cover this game. Trust me. Why would you ever take a team that is, like, just fired their head coach? They lost to Georgia Southern.
Yeah.
You don't take them after that. So, no, I'm not saying no to Utah. Arizona State is not ready to win this game, not ready to cover. Give me Utah.
Well, there you have it. Those are our picks for this week. And I will point out, as I said earlier in the episode, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ranked teams that are perfect against covering the spread.
Yeah.
They are Penn State, Tennessee, Texas, Kentucky, USC, and Washington. So if you're looking to back the stats, lean towards those ones this week.
Yeah, if you're looking for consistency, those are your 6.
Yeah. But other than that, thank you for joining us this week. Check out our TikTok, check out our Twitter. Give us a like and subscribe on the video. It would mean a lot to us. And get ready for some more entertaining college football this week.